Before kings ruled Israel, before prophets filled the land, there was a woman who picked up a tambourine and led an entire nation into worship. Her name was Miriam. Miriam was not just a background figure in the Bible. She was a leader, a prophetess, a voice of courage. She was the older sister of Moses, yes, that Moses, the one chosen by God to lead Israel out of Egypt. But long before Moses stood before Pharaoh, Miriam was already watching, waiting, and trusting God. The time was dark. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and Pharaoh had given a terrible command. Every Hebrew baby boy must be thrown into the Nile. It was a season of fear, of silence, of heartbreak. But one mother refused to give up her child. She placed her baby brother in a basket and set him gently on the river. And nearby, hidden among the reeds, stood a young girl, watching, waiting, ready. That girl was Miriam. When Pharaoh's daughter found the baby, Miriam didn't run. She stepped forward, brave, bold, quick-thinking. She offered to find a Hebrew woman to nurse the child, not just any woman, his own mother. Because of Miriam's courage, Moses was saved and raised with love in his earliest years. Even as a child, Miriam was already part of God's plan. Years passed, Moses grew, God called him, and the time for freedom finally came. Through signs and wonders, through plagues and power, God led his people out of Egypt, and Miriam was there, not behind the scenes, but right in the middle of the journey. Then came the moment. The Red Sea stood before them. The Egyptian army was behind them. There was nowhere to run, but God made a way. The waters parted. The people crossed, and when the enemy followed, the sea came crashing down. Israel was free. And in that moment, Miriam stepped forward. Not with fear, but with a tambourine in her hand. She began to sing. Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. And something incredible happened. The women followed her, dancing, singing, rejoicing. Miriam didn't just celebrate freedom, she led it. She turned victory into worship. She turned a miracle into a moment of praise. The Bible calls her a prophetess, not just a sister, not just a follower, a leader. Miriam stood alongside Moses and Aaron as one of the voices guiding Israel. In a time when women were rarely seen in leadership, God chose Miriam to stand at the front, to lead not with weapons, but with worship. But like many leaders in the Bible, Miriam's story wasn't perfect. There came a moment when pride crept in, when she spoke against Moses, and there were consequences. For a time, she was struck with leprosy and separated from the people. But even then, we see something powerful. The entire nation waited for her. They didn't move forward until Miriam was restored. That's how much she mattered. God healed her, and Miriam returned. Still part of the story. Still part of God's people. Her journey reminds us that even leaders can stumble, but God is not finished with them. Miriam teaches us three powerful truths. Courage can start at any age. Worship is a form of leadership, and your voice can move people closer to God. She didn't part the sea. She didn't confront Pharaoh, but she led the praise that echoed through generations. So the next time you feel unseen, or think your role is too small, remember Miriam, the girl who watched from the riverbank, became the woman who led a nation in worship. And maybe your voice is meant to lead too.